We begin with coverage here on the Afghanistan exit. The evacuations continue. President Biden today pushing back at critics, a story, a part of this in Washington that we've been covering and discussing with Nicole Wallace. This may be Biden's most forceful defense yet of the policy. Flights out of the country resumed today after what the Pentagon says was basically a 6 or 7 hour pause. White House officials think they do now have most Americans out of the country. And here is that context, because basically the Biden administration is arguing that they are doing exactly what they intended to do, that they knew it would be tough, and that a lot of the critics or haters are essentially out of line, especially Republicans who've been going along with a Trump-Taliban exit for years as a plan. They say the focus will be the evacuations because there is a hard-fought effort here to protect some people, but leaving, no matter what, is still, they say, the right thing to do.
What interest do we have in Afghanistan at this point with al-Qaeda gone? We went to Afghanistan for the express purpose of getting rid of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, as well as getting Osama bin Laden. And we did. What is the national interest of the United States in that circumstance? We went and did the mission. You've known my position for a long, long time. It's time to end this war.
End this war. We use words a lot on the news. We are all here talking to each other endlessly. It's part of human culture. But in that very simple statement about ending the war, this president is reminding Americans of something that outside of military families and a few other folks professionally involved that can get so lost when we send so many others to fight the wars, which is this continued to be a hot war, a multi-decade war in that region backed by American blood and treasure. And so when the president says it's time to end this war, he is very simply with words reminding people that it was still a war, even if no one else was willing to actually end it. Now, we reported some of this on the beat this week, that polls show that the majority of Americans, even after those bruising, terrible, and tragic images came through this week, think that Joe Biden's still right, that the war was unwinnable, that it's time to leave. I want to quote from a critic and influential progressive, Josh Marshall, who tracks this stuff closely but often breaks with the media when he says the media is missing the point, writing that much of the chaos that we're seeing actually demonstrates the larger reality that the American mission had run its course long ago. That whatever's going on in Washington with the media or certain national security elites, the general public looked at this as a thing that should have been over. And it was actually by some, and by the Trump administration, a fear of actually doing it and facing the reckoning that had prevented American presidents from really getting out, even as the public got it. Now, this is a fast-developing situation. No one is here to predict the future. There are still many valid questions about how this was run, whether it was run well, whether it can be improved. That's why there's work that's done on an emergency or immediate basis, and then there's investigations and oversight. That's why you have congressional hearings about a whole range of topics. Certainly, this is an important one. President Biden responding to new reports from a State Department cable that was allegedly trying to give a greater heads up about this back in July that warned of a Taliban takeover, saying, yes, they wrote that, and that's been written before, and there are many different data points, warnings, and possibilities through the intelligence and diplomatic process. At the same time, a new focus on the Trump administration, as mentioned, because his own top advisors say that Donald Trump did not help things. Trump's former national security advisor discussing their often clumsy effort at a peace deal with the Taliban.
Our Secretary of State signed a surrender agreement to the Taliban. This collapse goes back to the capitulation agreement of 2020. I mean, the Taliban didn't defeat us. We defeated ourselves.
We defeated ourselves. That also may sound like rhetoric, defeated ourselves, but let's be very clear about what those words mean. That's someone who was sympathetic enough to Donald Trump to go put his military record on the line and work for him, and who's now putting the word out at this crucial time this week, telling everyone Donald Trump succumbed and was defeated. And, as bullies often do, the way that Donald Trump succumbed, to him it was only important to stay out of the light. He made the deal with the Taliban, but left it for somebody else to clean up and own the withdrawal. Now, President Biden argues the truth is this was past time. The focus on getting it done now and addressing, as you saw in a somewhat more defiant president here in those remarks I just showed you, getting it done while making sure to tell Washington he's got this.